Hey there, everybody. I'm here to give you my best 10 pieces of advice for improving your educational videos. And the first order of business right now is to turn off this air conditioner. It is incredibly loud, and it's right there, right next to me. If you're in an environment that's loud like that, where there's background noise, there's no way to fix that after you film. So you need to turn off those air conditioners, unplug those refrigerators, and get away from any noise you can, because if that's on your video, it's there to stay, and it is distracting. The second thing that you might notice right away is I am currently filming in portrait. If you would take and start filming your videos in landscape, that would mean a lot to me. Immediately when you're filming in landscape, things look more like a movie, more like TV, and it'll give the vibe of it being more professional in most circumstances, although I'm sure there are exceptions. So while we're on that topic, a lot of how your video looks is going to be how you frame it. I've seen a lot of interesting things, people with their head way here or up here, or things like that. And I don't know how many of my students have sent me videos from home. I think they're just sitting their phone on a desk or something, and it's pointing up at the ceiling, and I can see their ceiling fans. There's a thing called the rule of thirds. So on most devices, you can activate a grid. Once you have that grid in place, you want to line your subject up along the rule of thirds, not exactly in the center, not off to the side too much, but exactly along those lines, and that's just going to look more appealing to the eye in most circumstances. You might have noticed in that last video that you saw footage that was not of me speaking. That footage is called B-roll. Anytime that you go away from the main footage, the main speaker, that's called B-roll, whether that's a picture of your family or your adorable dog. Every time something new comes up on the screen, it resets the focus and attention of your audience. And so B-roll, anything you can add in like that is incredibly valuable for making your videos more captivating and more professional looking. Next up, let's talk about tripods because my arm is getting tired. We now have our phone sitting on a tripod, and this looks much better, it feels much better, it is much better. If you don't want to use a tripod though, you can use a clip like this. This is a clip that you can clip onto any table, surface, piano, etc. And then right here, I've got a holder for a phone. And these things can be really useful, and the advantage is you can throw them in your backpack and take them on a field trip with you. However, if we're going to take what we're doing here to the next level, we're going to need to add some background music. Now, the next piece of business is lighting, and that sounds like it might be expensive, but it doesn't have to be. What we're going to use is work lights with wax paper on the front of them, and we're going to see what type of results we can get with this. Alright, so what we have now is we have two light sources, both just work lamps with the wax paper in front of them. The wax paper just helps diffuse the light a little bit and make it a little bit softer and ease some of the reflections. One of the things that I would want to change immediately is I actually want to add a light on my background to get rid of some of these shadows that we're seeing and to separate myself from the background. So what I've done here is I've put a light bulb back behind me here that's lighting up the background. And since I've done that, we probably also might want to take and decorate just a little bit. So what we have now is a basic 3-point lighting setup, where I have a light right here, a light right here, and then a light on my background. One of the things people don't know is that you can adjust the exposure on your phone when you're filming. But also you can lock the exposure so that as you move around, especially in a video like this, the exposure isn't trying to compensate for any reflections or you getting closer or further away from the camera. Those changes that happen are a dead giveaway that you're filming on a phone, and it won't happen if you lock the exposure before you start filming. So another thing you need to consider is your videos may not look very professional if you don't look very professional. So while it's perfectly appropriate to make a lot of videos dressed casually, sometimes you want to dress professionally, which I will do now for this presentation. So, I feel fancy. I feel dressed fancy, and my scene is well lit, and this is a fancy video. So if I could leave you with one last piece of advice, it's that as you're filming, don't stop your camera if you make a mistake. Just keep on going. Start where you have a little bit of space and say it again until you like it, and then edit it together at the end to be perfect. If you're like me, you're not going to say it perfect the first time, and if you stop the camera every time you make a mistake, you're never going to finish your video. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful and useful to you, and it gets better the more you practice, so keep practicing.